Okay, so let's talk about 2.4, and we'll start seeing the homework type problems that you're going to see in 2.3.2.4. Okay, so 2.4 takes what we learned about in 2.3, those visual categorical data, and now we're going to learn how to summarize it. So since it's categorical data, it's just a little bit different. So remember, with numerical data, in order to summarize, we would talk about the shape, the center, which is what is typical, and we would talk about the variability or the spread of the data. So in here, when we talk about visualizing the categorical data and summarizing it, we're only going to focus in on two things. We're going to focus in on what is the mode. Okay. Now, when we talk about the mode here, this is really about like the center of our data, like what we talked about in the numerical data summarizing. So this is about the center. And then again, we're going to talk about variability, but our variability is just a little bit different in this one than what it was in numerical. So slight changes to these, but still kind of the same idea. We're talking about the center, we're talking about variability. We don't have to talk about the shape because this is categorical. One column really does not affect the other one like it did in histograms. Okay, so let's talk about mode first. Mode, just as you would think, it's all about what is the tallest bar or bars in a bar graph, or the largest slice or slices in a pie chart. Okay, so we're not looking at what we call, like the humps. Okay, we're actually looking for where are the tallest bars, who are they, or is there one tall bar? And then who are the largest slice, or what is the largest slice or slices in the pie chart? Okay. A couple other things, I think. Note, it is possible to be bimodal or multimodal. Okay. So in order for that to happen, that means you have multiple bars or pie slices that are nearly the same height and size. Okay. Height or size, thinking about like the pie slices. So we'll talk about that here in a couple of seconds. So, but mode really is, which bar is the tallest, or bars. Maybe there are two that are extremely close. Okay. So right here, we've got what class do you belong in? So class meaning like, are you upper class, middle class, lower class? Don't know. In society. So they surveyed some people. I can't remember who they surveyed, but it doesn't really matter. But if we look at this, if we talk about the mode, what is the tallest bar? And that would be the middle class. So that's what they mean by the mode. Okay. Who's the tallest? Oh, middle class. Now, bimodal, kind of give you an example of this, is if this lower class, since it's kind of the second tallest, was right up here, like right there. You see how these bars are almost the same height? This would be like a bimodal, because since these bars are the same, almost the same height, they don't have to be the same height. Okay, but if they are almost the same height, we would say these two are the modes for us. Okay, but they have to be really, really close to each other. All right. So this is where I was talking about right here. If there are multiple bars that are nearly the same height, okay, if they're the same height, great, but they don't have to be. So if these two bars were, since these two bars right here are now nearly the same height, you could say that you're bimodal. And then of course, multimodal again means that maybe you have multiple bars that are the same height. So maybe this one's just a little bit bigger. So again, here these would be multimodal. Okay. So that's the idea of having more than one mode, because maybe on your bar chart you have some bars that are really, really close to each other in height. Okay. So there's that. That's mode. Really, really straightforward, I promise you. Variability. Now, in here, when we talk about variability, I want you to think about the word diversity. In other words, when we talk variability, do I only have like two answers? Do I only have like 2 categories? That's not a lot of variability. Or do I have multiple categories? Like in the question that I gave you guys in chapter 1, in that survey that's in the announcements, I asked you what your favorite color was. I have received multiple answers that are different. Okay, that's a lot of variability. But in our toilet paper rolls, there's only 2 options. You're either on top or you're underneath. It doesn't matter which one you are. That's not a lot of variability. Okay, so variability is, think about the word diversity. Are there lots of different types of answers? Okay, so again, that's what I was talking about right here. Look for the number of different observations recorded. If there are a lot of different categories recorded, then you are said to have high variability. Okay? So, if we look at this, I've got 2 bar graphs here. Okay? So, these are the percentage of students at 2 Los Angeles schools who are identified with several ethnic groups. So, we got school A, school B. Which one of these has the most variability? Hopefully you said A, because we have people in every single category over here. I've got Asians, I got white, I got Pacific Islanders, Filipino, Hispanic, Native American, African American. There's a bar for each one of these. Okay? So I have every single one of these groups represented. That's a lot of variability. But when we look at school B, notice I have almost 100% that are Hispanic and a small portion here that are African American. Okay, there's not a lot of variability here because I only have 2 bars. I have Hispanic, or African American. Okay, that's what we mean by variability. Okay, so put it all together. So here I've given you 2 bar graphs: male deaths, female deaths. I want you to tell me some things that you know. Tell me, talk to me about the mode. Talk to me about the variability. Okay. So hopefully in this, you see some things that MV stands for motor vehicle accident. Okay. So this bar right here and the bar right over here in female and male, both of them have relatively the same mode. They're both motor vehicle accidents. Okay. Hopefully you said that both of these have lots of variability because they have, excuse me, they have bars in every category. So there's a lot of variability here, and there's a lot of variability here. Okay. Probably, yeah. But let me show you something that's kind of cool here. So if I show you this, this is that same bar graph. Just now I put it together. Okay. So what can you talk to me about here comparing male and females that might have been a little bit harder to do here? Okay. Again, we put it all together right here. So what do you see? What can you tell me about? Okay. What can you talk to me about with males and females? Go. Okay. So you can still see that there is a lot of variability. Everybody has bars. You can also see that this is still the mode. This is the biggest for males. This is the biggest for females. Okay. But now you can also see, you can really compare these two and you can look at, there's a lot more deaths in the males than there are females given every situation. Okay. So this gives us a lot more to talk about with our data. So sometimes instead of having your data separately like this, where I have one bar graph for males and one bar graph for females, sometimes it helps to put it together. And now we can talk about males and females together a little bit easier when we do double bar graphs. And that's kind of like what this is. This is a double bar graph. We've got the male bar graph and the female bar graph all in one now. And it makes things a little bit easier to make comparisons and see that, man, the males die in every category more than what the females do. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's start looking at homework problems. Okay? So if I go to the entire page of this, so here they've given us some information. So this is the bar chart for the information. This is the women's information. So up here it says the 2012 General Social Survey asked its respondents to report their political party affiliation. Okay, the graph shows the results of 1,081 women. So you can see the colors for strong Democrats, Republicans, strong Republicans, others. So question A says, which political affiliation has the most women? So this one's about the mode. Hopefully you said Democrats, not strong, because that is the highest bar. Okay? Now it says, what political affiliation has the second largest? Okay? So hopefully in this one, you can talk about that the second largest is other. Okay? Because you can see right up here, that's a little bit easier to see up here on the bar graph than it is the pie chart, that the other bar is definitely higher than the other ones. You might say maybe it could be multimodal, maybe between strong Dem and Republican not strong, but I tend to think that other is definitely probably in its own category, that it is the second largest number. And again, it asks that question, is it easier to determine the bar chart or with the pie chart? If you look down here at the pie chart, here are those three categories. Okay, strong Dem, Republican, Republican, not strong, and other. So if you look at these three slices almost kind of look the same. That's why statisticians in scientific settings often don't use the pie chart, because sometimes it's a little harder to tell sectors that are different and the next strongest, because these three slices kind of look the same. Okay? So definitely the bar graph is a little bit easier to see there. And then C says some people believe that women tend to lean more than men towards liberal political positions, such as those advocated by the Democrats. Compare the graphs for exercise 2.41 and 2.42. Do you see evidence of this? So, I should have that bar graph up. So let's go grab that bar graph real quick, since I didn't put that on there. I should have. Bad, Mr. Armstrong. So let's open up our e-textbook. And if you don't know how to do this, well, now you're going to learn. So I went to My Math Lab. I clicked on My Lab and Mastering. Click on the yellow tab. Go out to our course. Right here is e-textbook. So click on that. You're going to want to open in a new tab. And then again, you'll click on e-textbook. And now it's going to get ready to open up our textbook. And we're going to jump to page as this thing opens up. We're going to jump all the way to page. Here we go. 70. There we go. So get rid of that. All right. 70. So right here is the men's. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that. Actually, it's right here. So here is the men's. Okay. So again, our question, kind of going back to it. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Says, okay. So it says some people believe that women tend to lean more than men towards liberal political positions, such as those advocated by Democrats. Okay? So, in other words, we're looking at Democrats. So, we need to compare the graphs of 2.41 and 2.42 to see if that's evidence. So, here's my women. And again, we already said that the Democratic bar is the most that the political affiliation the women choose. So, if we come over here, look at the men, is that same here? Absolutely. So, but when we look at this, how high is this bar? It looks like it's about at 40. Okay. When we come back over here, how high is this bar? It's a little bit under that. So, up here, they stated that people believe that women tend to lean more than men towards liberal political positions. So, are there more women here than men? Or are there more men than women here? Which one do we see? Well, hopefully you see that this assertion that they said that there are more women than men in Democratic positions is not true. There are more men in that position than there are women. Because as you saw in our book, there are about 40% here that make up men. And in that same argument, only, a little bit under 30% make up the men, or sorry, women. So you can see that definitely that little assertion there, their little statement is not true because the bars for the women would not be as high as the bar for the men. This would be one of those great opportunities where I showed you just like what we had right here. If we could put the men and women side by side, that would be a great opportunity for that. So these are the kind of problems that you're going to see. They're not really crazy. It's just having you, read, summarize some information you see on the bars, and then maybe they provide you a claim and you talk about that claim. Okay. Again, in all this, it's going to be multiple choice. Okay. So you're looking for the answer choice that supports what you see. Okay. All right. So the next one. Here we go. So in here it says with gas prices rising as they did between 1985 and 2007, you might expect people to move towards buying smaller cars. Compare the types of cars sold in 1985, 2000, and 2007. Okay? As shown in the figure. So now you're going to answer these three questions. Go ahead, pause the video, and give this a shot. Okay, so question A says, which type of cars sold the most in all 3 years? Okay, so in all 3 years, if we look at this, the bar that is the biggest is the green one. Okay, so that means midsize was the most sold in all 3 years. Okay, now up here it says, what is the trend for smaller cars? Okay, so small is that kind of maroon. And if we look at it from year to year, is there much of a change? Not really. I mean, basically from 85 to 2000, it looks like it went down a little bit. And then back in 2000, it looks like it went back up, maybe a little bit higher than where it was in 85. So it went down a little bit and then went back up. So it's been relatively consistent. Okay. So that's kind of the trend I see. Has a higher or lower percentage of smaller cars sold in more recent years. So as it went towards 2000, it looks like it went down. As it went from 2000 to 2000 or 2007, it looks like it went back up. I would say the percentage has gone a little bit higher. Okay, because this bar does look a little bit higher than what it is over here. Okay, so that's how I would answer that question. And then part C says, what is the trend for large cars? So large cars is in yellow. So large cars looks like it went down and then it went back up a little bit. So a little bit like what the small cars kind of did. Okay, but there's definitely a big change between 85 to 2000 here. Okay, that's a big drop. And then it went back up. not quite as high as what it was in 85. So that would kind of be the trend that I'm looking for in those multiple choice answers. Something along the lines that it went down and then it went back up. Okay. There you go. Again, we're not asking kind of crazy things here. We're just, looking at what's going on. Okay. All right. So here it says the table gives information on college majors at Wesley College, a women's college outside of Boston. Sketch an appropriate graph of the distributions and comment on its important features. Okay. So this is where you need to go to My Math Lab. Okay. So we're going to go to My Math Lab and we're going to put information in. All right. And so we come out here, we open up our My Math Lab. Okay. So we can come in here. And what we need to do is we need to clear this information out. Sorry, I was just looking at something real quick. So you want to come up here, hit that arrow, say clear column. See, there, takes it all out. All right. So then now what we want to do is we want to call this percentages. Okay. All this percentages. And down here, you're going to put in those four percentages I think we had. Let's go back and look. Yeah, 4 percentages down below. So 30%, 38%, 15%, 17%. Okay. So let's go back in here. 38%. Sorry, 30%, 38%. Doesn't really matter, but 30%, 38%. Okay. And then 15%, 17%. 15%, 17%. Okay, and then we can go and look at the bar graph for these. Okay, so we can make a bar graph with the data, the percentages. Okay, and there we go. So this was the 30. Oh, I actually think I did this wrong. So I'm going to switch this up. I think we actually need both of those columns. That was my fault. So let's put majors here. And we'll put the percentages here. That was my fault. 30, 38, 15, 17. And over here, we'll put our majors. So humanities, social science, math and science, interdisciplinary. So let's just call it Hume, social science, math and science, and interdisciplinary. So now we can go to graph with data. We're going to choose those. So down here, that's just about labeling. Let's see our options. We want it to group by majors. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Again, that's not doing what I want it to do. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've done some statistics. So there's a way to do this. I know there is. It's just Mr. Armstrong messing around. Oh, wait a minute. I know why. Because we need to do this with summary. So that was my fault. So here's how summary works. So we put all of our information in because this is summary data. This isn't actual data. That's silly me. That's Mr. Armstrong for you. Okay, let me go ahead and delete all this information out because it's junk. So delete all. All right. So yes, that's fine. So this is summary information. This is the summary of humanities, the summary of social science, the summary of math, the summary of interdisciplinary. So here's how summary works. So summary is when you've got, like I said, they've summarized the data for you. They've already collected all the information and put it together. So here we're going to do a summary. So the categories, you need to select majors because that's our categories. And then the counts, that's our percentages. And now it's ready. There we go. So there it is. There is all of our information. So there is the bar chart. I knew I was thinking about this all wrong. So that's what a summary kind of looks at. And then we can go back if we want to do a pie chart. Again, you're going to select with summary. Okay. So we'll select majors as the category. And again, percentages. And we can compute. And there they are. Okay. There are our answers. So hopefully I didn't just mess you up too much there, but it was summary data that we're working with. Okay, so now we've sketched the appropriate graph. Okay, so if we kind of look at this, if we kind of think about it, again, these two kind of look the same. And these two, obviously you can see that social science is a little bit more, but I mean, really, they're almost kind of the same slice. So is a pie chart really appropriate? Probably not. So when you do this, again, this is all multiple choice. You'll select the correct graph that you want to use. But this is what the pie chart looks like. Okay. But we really don't want that. That's not really appropriate because, again, these two look like they're the same size. There's very little difference there. This is more of an appropriate graph. And so when we look at this, I want to know what it is that you see. Comment on the mode and the variability. Okay? So what do you see? What can you tell me? Okay. So hopefully you said that the mode is the social science. It is the biggest bar. There's some pretty good variability going on here. I mean, we have 4 categories. Every category has some information in it. Some other things you could talk about. I mean, we could make this a Perot chart in here. I don't think I showed you how to do it to make it a Perot chart, but it's right here. Let's say value ascending. Nope, that wasn't it. There's a way to make it a Perot chart. Let me make sure it's not actually up here. Chart columns. Let's go back into this. Edit. There is a way to make it a Perot. Let's see what this one did. I like playing around some. Nope, that one's not it. Just kidding. Let's take it back to the frequency options. Nope. Maybe we go count ascending. There we go. So there's ascending, but that's not what a Perot chart looks like. We want to do count descending. There's the Perot chart. See, you can make Perot charts in here too. So you can take that data. Here's what the Perot chart looks like. So you can talk about how social science is the biggest, then humanities, and then interdisciplinary, and math and science is our lowest. So you got lots of different ways that you can do this thing. So just kind of showing some nice little features. Play around with StatCrunch. There's a lot of cool things that you can do, and you can't mess things up. I mean, as long as you put your data in, if you mess up this screen, you're like, I don't know what I did. You can always just get rid of it. Come over here. Oops. And delete all those that you made, and then just do it again. Go in here and, play around. Lots of cool things that you can do. So there we describe the trends. And again, this is all multiple choice. So you're going to be looking for something, that you see in the picture that you would talk about within the answers. And I think that was the last one. Yeah. So remember, section 2.3 and 2.4 covers everything from 32 to 42. So those are those questions. Okay. Then next time I'll see you for 2.5, which wraps up chapter 2. So I'll see you then. You stay classy, statistics class.